Oh, is that what it is? Oh, right.
Everyone, we're going to get started. We've got a little equipment malfunction we're going to take care of here shortly, but we want to get started. And the first thing I want to do is welcome you all for coming this evening. This event is sponsored by the Manistee County Republican Party, and so we're glad you've joined us. We want to thank Pastor Jamie Parlett for allowing us to use this beautiful facility. As Pastor Parlett pointed out to me earlier this evening, it was the church building that was the original gathering for the town, for the community. It's where the original town halls were held. And so we're just so grateful to him that he's willing to open up this fabulous building to us and let us have a meeting here tonight. My name is Jennifer Smeltzer, and I am one of the 4 vice chairs for the 1st Congressional District Republican Committee. And I'm happy to be your MC this evening. Our first speaker this evening is John Cronick. John is a substance abuse prevention county coordinator and certified prevention consultant from Stanton, Michigan. He's also a member of the Michigan Certification Board for Addiction Professionals and the current Michigan Prevention Association Marijuana Task Force Chair. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mr. John Cronick.
Thank you. I know I have to be the mic because we got this filming tonight, otherwise I'd be all over the place. Right? But every time I hear that introduction, it's like, what? It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I can just talk, but what is it that brings you here tonight? What specific questions would you like answered or addressed? Maybe not answered, but addressed. Yes? Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Yes?
I have discussions with my son all the time.
Okay.
My oldest one, he's 31. You know, he doesn't really smoke marijuana, but he thinks it's okay. And so I have discussions because my dad used to go around and Flint public schools and teach us how bad it could be for us. You know, and I said it affects the brain. You know, but I don't really know how to articulate that. Why do you think they call it potheads? I told him. Why do you think? And then where I worked at a recovery center, a lot of the people there, I guess, because how it has affected their lives. You know.
Okay.
So
make sure you talk about how it affects the brain.
Where
Yes.
children leave their homes.
I will say something. I'm on the township board for Arcadia, and I just think it's important that we, as township officials, get all the information we can when we're asked questions about it, or if it comes up for some kind of vote with our board. So
Just general information when it comes up to the board has to make a choice. Who's going in? Yes?
I heard that there are lots of jobs where they do drug testing, and if marijuana is legalized, there'll be a lot of people looking for jobs who can't pass the drug test because they smoke marijuana on the weekends or whatever. So there's going to be this potential pool of unemployable people. Are we going to end up paying more welfare for folks who can't find a job?
Well, if marijuana is legal and I party on Saturday night and I do a piece, the THC chemical will change in the body after about 24 to 48 hours. So the drug test won't read that it's THC, but it will read another measure on it. So it will read that the person has used, but it could have been 3 weeks ago or that type of thing, which they're using. And if I'm an employer, it depends. If I've got him shoveling and digging out dishes, there's not much risk in that. But if he's driving a high-low or running with machines, construction, then I'm, as a business owner, I'm saying my liability is what, right? And so there's real concerns about that. Right now, it's tough for employers in my area to find somebody who can pass a drug test. And that will become more extreme with this. You asked about will that cost us more. If we have more people on social services, it's not necessarily our taxes will go up, it'll just be less people are getting less services. You know, that type of thing. Now what will go up, because traffic fatalities will go up, is our auto insurance will go up.
Oh, gee.
Because, right, we all share the auto insurance pool, right? You know, that's why it's an insurance. So if crashes go up, and this comes from the AAA Foundation, the American Automobile Association, from their data that says, yes, and I don't know, it's going to be $2 or it's going to be $200. It just depends on where you belong and how much they come up with. But we'll all be affected in that way.
We don't see any ads on TV about that. You know, I'm sure nobody wants to pay more car insurance.
Right. So, if you give me a couple moments, I'm going to plug this baby in. The pictures are much nicer to look at than me.
Yeah. Yes,
Waiting a few seconds for him to get that adjusted. One of the points I want to make that's very critically important is that we don't become complacent this election cycle in Manistee. You know, our Republican candidates for county commissioners, that race has already been settled. But because of the importance of the ballot proposals, it's very important that you remember to vote. Because it does matter who's on our county commission, it matters who's in our courthouse, it matters who our sheriff is, but it really matters that we come out and make sure that we vote for statewide leadership, national leadership, but in particular, the ballot proposals. The Manistee County Republican Party is encouraging a no vote on all 3 ballot proposals. If you are interested in additional information, we have handouts in the back of the room that will explain all 3 proposals to you. We're also beginning an ad campaign in the Bulletin Board News, which will talk a little bit more in depth about the proposals and why specifically we're opposing them from a Republican viewpoint. Additionally, there's some information from Healthy Michigan in the back, little quick palm cards to look at that help review the facts and give you talking points when talking with your neighbors about why. I mean, we heard a lady earlier here today say, well, you know, my son doesn't use it, but he's not really opposed to it. A lot of people think that this proposal will affect medical marijuana. It doesn't. This proposal is only about recreational marijuana. We have medical marijuana in the state of Michigan since 2008. So none of this proposal has anything to do with people who are suffering from illnesses or want to use any of those cannabis products for pain relief. This proposal is strictly about fun times, high times, easy access. And as we've seen in other states like Colorado, it's been an absolute nightmare. I think we're just about, yep, we're just about.
No?
You need to dim the lights a little.
Now it's blurry.
If you dim the lights, you can read the
We got a light dimmer.
It might make it easier to read it. There you go. Hey, yeah. Oh, I know pharmacy.
So, my role is with Michigan Prevention Association, and although I do work as a substance abuse prevention professional, today, I'm here as a volunteer, as a community member. I'm here as a grandpa. That's my bias tonight. So I wanted to give a thank you to the Michigan Prevention Association, Healthy Productive Michigan, the Smart Approaches to Marijuana, SAM. You see some websites out there if you're interested in more information. Also, local public health and the Michigan Association of Preventive Medicine and Public Health Physicians. Another important is it's really on title.
It was just fine to start.
And then the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan. All of these organizations have put out information on this and positions about the commercialization, including the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, who also take a stand against this. They say they can't guarantee the health and safety of workers, among some other things that are there. And then there are various other sources we'll cite on the way. But life can be humorous. How many of you know that chronic is a nickname for marijuana? So you've got the doctor who's a podiatrist, is Dr. Foote. You've got the heart doctor, Dr. Love. And now tonight you have a guy here talking about marijuana whose name is Chronic. So I like to start with that because it loosens things up. All right. Here's my bias, my granddaughter. And this is about communities. What kind of community do we want our children to be growing up in? We're talking about the health. We're talking about the safety, the success for her, and of course, overall well-being that's going on. So when I say it's my bias, these are the qualities that I look at. When I look at the studies, and I hear that marijuana does this and this and this, and it's all great, and I say, show me the studies. I want to be accurate. Right? But my bias, I want you to know my bias as I do this. So, some of us are a little older,
Okay, fine.
and in the 70s, we had, I think I have a pointer. That's not it. I don't know. There's the pointer. Here we go. Then, like 1970s, we had THC levels in the marijuana, which were like 1.5%, 2.5%. We had CBD levels, which was 1.5%. That's important because the CBD offsets the THC. So if I had equal THC and CBD, I would not get high. It would all counterbalance it. Which left in the 1970s a 0.5% to 1.5% net THC effect. So when people think, well, what's the big deal? They're referring to 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, when the THC levels, which causes the brain to change the way it thinks, they're thinking about how it affected them and their friends at that time. Today, leaf is 15 to 25% THC, with maybe a 0.5% CBD, which leaves 15 to 20, basically 25% THC, compared to a 0.5% to 1.5%. Right? Now, that's just the smokable leaf. We get into edibles, brownies, and hot tarts, and things like that we're going to talk about. We're talking 40 to 55% THC, with no CBD. So basically, if somebody's consuming, eating it, or drinking it, we're talking about CBD or THC levels at this rate. Then we have the oils, 80 to 90% plus.
Wow.
So when we talk about what's the problem, it's not an addictive drug. Well, in the 70s, you had much better arguments for that. Today, it's a whole different drug than what we were used to when we were growing up. So basically, forget everything you know about marijuana in the past, because it's brand new and it's intense. One of the problems is that when there is a substance available in the community, the use by youth goes up. Right? So in Isabella County, they have a population of 71,000. Montcalm County, that's my county, 63,000. Medical marijuana cards, Isabella has 600, we have 1,000. Ninth grade use in Isabella is 8.3, in Montcalm 12.3, grade 11th grade 12.5 to 19%. The more something is available, the more the teen thinks, well, if it's medical, what's the problem? And it's not that risky a substance. And so there's a higher rate of use that goes on. So if we legalize, we're going to see this increase further. And this holds true throughout the United States. The red up here are those states that have legalized or include medical marijuana. Either legalized or medical marijuana. The blue states are those states that have not, and the bars represent the percentage of youth that used in the last 30 days. It's consistent. When something is available, it will get used. And of course, the youth want to be cool, and they want to be grown-ups, so they use what the grown-ups use. Used to be alcohol was a big thing. More people go into treatment for marijuana now than they do for alcohol, more kids. Youth rates, U.S. average for 2011, 12, and then the next line is 12, 13, and the light blue is for 2013, 2014. So these are the use rates. You can see the U.S. average has gone down just a little bit. Colorado, where it's been legalized, it continues to climb. Washington, the state of Washington, also is going up. Again, legalization, increased availability, increased youth. A consistent pattern. So people have said, marijuana, it's good. So Jeffrey Berger is a addictionologist. In 2015, he gave a talk where he said, THC and CBD are just about equal anti-inflammatory, immune, whatever that word is. Basically, the immune response, and anti-emetic, which means dealing with nausea. And THC was made available through the FDA in 1986 to deal with nausea and vomiting for AIDS patients. So it's already available through the pharmacy if someone really wants to use it medicinally. In June of this year, the FDA approved Epidiolex, which is a CBD medication. So that's available medically too. Yes?
What does THC and CBD stand for?
Oh, go ahead.
THC is tetrahydrocannabinol.
Say it once more.
Tetrahydrocannabinol.
Thank you.
And CBD is?
That one I'm not going to get.
It's a cannabinoid. Cannabinoid. Their scientific names are 3 miles long, and that's why we use the initials so much.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, one more. So THC is better than cannabinoid, CBD, in stimulating appetite, decreasing interocular pressure in the eyes, and relaxing skeletal muscles. But the asterisk that you see here, there are other medications that are more effective and safer. So when they say THC is good for glaucoma because it takes off the pressure, well, first off, there's a better medication for it. Second off, in order to have that type of effect, you have to get up every 2 hours and do that dosing to be effective. But THC also creates a euphoric effect, can produce psychosis. So people who say PTSD, marijuana works great for that. It actually is counterproductive to it. Now, initial use of a drug will have a certain effect. After a while, the body says, this is taking away the way we normally function, so it shifts, and we have a secondary effect from the drug. So, if somebody is suffering from PTSD and they take some THC for the first time, they might have some relief going on, because it's a change, but if they continue to use it, it will actually increase the psychotic episodes and PTSD experience. It causes anxiety, raises blood pressure and heart rate, can cause diabetes. CBD, yes.
For how long?
For how long it raises heart rate?
Any one of those?
Any one of those. Blood pressure, heart rate, for the first hour after a person uses, the risk of heart attack goes up like fivefold. For about an hour, and then the THC gets processed out of the body. And
So for an hour?
for an hour, you have a risk.
Any one of those things?
Well, I don't know how long the diabetes effect is, because that would be basically a permanent shift in how the body produces blood sugar and so forth. CBD reduces anxiety, does not create a high, antipsychotic effects, lowers blood pressure, great anti-seizure effect than THC. More neuroprotective effect than THC, so the nervous system, neurological system is addressed that way. Shown to have anti-cancer effect in lung cancer in cultures, only in cultures today. So if this was all about CBD, we wouldn't be here. Because CBD has some really promising pieces. Don't get high, and it actually can help relax and reduce. But what we find is people will say marijuana reduces cancer, fixes cancer. Well, first off, the study is not about THC, it's about CBD. And second, it's not proven yet. It's only in the early experimental changes stages. And like I said, the FDA has approved a CBD medication just at the end of June. So, how is it affecting youth in Montcalm County? Of the youth in 2016 that went to treatment, of those that went, 11% went because of alcohol concerns. 85% went because of marijuana concerns into treatment. None went for heroin or opioids. In 2017, alcohol remained the same. Marijuana dropped a little bit, and heroin and opioids picked up. Here you go from your question about affecting. When adolescents use weekly, what we find is that learning is affected, memory is affected, math and reading skills are affected, and there's a higher percent that will fail out of high school, or not go to college, or if they go to college, not finish college. Because it kind of, that's basically what the research says. New Zealand did a study, if an adolescent starts using like 15 years old and is using heavily, by the time they're 35 years old, they will measure a loss of IQ of up to 8 points, which is never regained. And that's because the brain is still developing as an adolescent. It's still identifying how it's going to function in the world. It's basically weeding out what's important and what's not. And the brain doesn't really mature until about 25. Well, that's for women. I think it's 30 for men. Go figure, right? But basically 25 is when the brain is more of a functional piece. So if I'm an adult and I'm 25 years old and I start using marijuana, I am not going to have a drop in IQ like that. But if I'm 15 and I start using heavy, this is what I can expect. Up to 8 points.
I got another question.
Yes?
You're saying weekly use and heavy use, or what it was. What do those terms mean? Like,
Weekly use means the person will use once or twice a week. Heavy use is kind of like daily use.
okay.
Northwestern Medicine at Northwestern University said the chronic use, the younger drug abuse starts, the more abnormal the brain. So basically that's what we just said. The younger you start, the worse the effects. Of the schizophrenic patients surveyed, 90% used marijuana before the schizophrenic set in. Now, I'm not saying that's a cause and effect. I'm saying that's what they looked at. Because we have to do some more research to be really clear that there's a cause-effect relationship. But right now, as a grandpa, I'm saying, I'm thinking that it is, why go there? That was chronic use, regular use. Casual use also changed the volume, shape, and density of gray matter in the brain. Teen cannabis users have poor long-term memory. The hippocampus changes, and that's the memory piece. And so here you have a healthy brain, and over here you have an age 18 daily user. So there are brain changes. Marijuana affects the brain in movement, sensations, the frontal abstract thinking, judgment comes into play, coordination, memory, and reward. So, when somebody has a good experience, the brain connects and says, "Oh, that was good. Make sure we do that again." So if somebody gets high and has a good time, they go, "Okay, that was good." And so the brain says, "Make sure you do that again." That's the reward system. It's a release of dopamine. Happens with heroin, happens with marijuana, happens with alcohol. What goes on though is as the brain is adjusting and says, "Oh, we got this experience. Okay, let's do that again." Well, wait a minute, it's not normal. So the brain adjusts so it can function as normal as possible with that influence, whether it's marijuana, alcohol, heroin. And so the person actually needs to use more to get the high that they once had that they enjoyed. And then that continues, and pretty soon, the brain is saying, "Okay, we'll function normally when we are under the influence." That'll be the normal function from here on out. Doesn't mean it's a safe function, it's just the way the brain is saying, this is our normal function. And so then when I go without, then the body starts to change again, and the brain goes, "What's going on here? This is not right. We got to get some stuff, man." And so it becomes a dog chasing the tail just to stay at a normal space. The high is gone. And that's why heroin users keep going higher and higher and higher, because of the release of dopamine and how it changes. Average toxicology of suicides among adolescents 10 to 19-year-olds. The red is pre-legalization of marijuana. The blue is post-legalization. For alcohol, the red was like 14% alcohol was related to suicide use. It dropped after legalization to 8.5. Opioids, heroin, that type of thing, was 3% before, and then afterwards it went up to almost 6%. And then marijuana was 13.5%, so it was already high before legalization, and then it continued to escalate afterward to 19%. And this comes from the Colorado Department of Public Health. So mental health concerns, risk of mental illness, and including schizophrenia, psychosis, and anxiety will increase. National Institute of Drug Abuse quote. The symptoms are worse with a higher THC level. That's our public health physicians. 15% of all marijuana users and a much higher percentage of heroin users will experience psychotic symptoms. So, I think I'm going to speed things up here because I don't want to.
I have a question.
Yes.
If they've already discovered all this, why aren't they taking steps to repeal the
Medical marijuana?
no, not medical, the recreational use, like in Colorado? Why aren't they, the legislature or some body, taking it, to the people and saying, "Look, we made a mistake voting this in, and look at this is what's happening to our people, and we want it gone." I mean,
Yep. Usually what it is, if the people voted it in, which most have, then it's not the legislator doing 51%. The legislator has to do like 65% of a vote to change what was put in by the people. That becomes a high bar because these people who voted in are very vocal. And it's politics. So that's what gets in the way. And you've probably heard people talk about it as it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? And so that's out there. And then people, if we don't understand what's going on with it, we just say, well, sure, it wasn't that bad when I was a kid. So that's kind of all of the dynamics that are going on with people. More cannabis use relates to higher rates of schizophrenia. Use of 0, 1, 2, 10 times, less than 50, more than 50 times marijuana was used, and you have 28 cases per 1,000 people. So it jumps the more a person used related to schizophrenia. The earlier use also affects the level of schizophrenia. Before 15 years or after 18 years, when the person starts. So in prevention, if we delay for 3 years someone experimenting, we have made a huge difference in their health, their overall health. So what does the psychotic episodes mean? This was a college student who said he ate one marijuana cookie. Recommended serving was 1/6 of a cookie. So he had 6 doses of marijuana by eating a cookie. And I don't know about you, but if there's a cookie there, 1/6 is going to cut it, right? So, jumped out of the window. Autopsy said marijuana intoxication was a significant contributing factor. This lady, her husband ate some marijuana candy. He started hallucinating and told his wife to shoot him. She started calling 911 instead, so he shot her. A psychotic episode. So these things don't happen to everybody who use. I don't want to be like, oh man, you touch it, you're going to melt. But when it affects somebody, it can hurt big time. Smoking, people realize, is not healthy. So they're shifting to more edibles. Brownies, cookies, little Rice Krispie treats. Infusing THC into the recipes. And then there's drinks. What looks like chocolate, what looks like cotton candy, and suckers. You can see suckers here, a bunch of different candy bars, full line of edibles here. So these are some Pop-Tarts. When I was a kid, Pop-Tarts were great. Now they're Pop-Tarts. Nutella? Nutella.
Oh my gosh.
So they're playing off common foods, and these are from Colorado and Washington. In the proposal, it says you cannot market to children. Is Nutella marketing to children?
Yes.
Is Pop-Tarts marketing to children? So there'll be some gray areas that will be pushed if this passes.
I'm surprised that the companies that make the non-marijuana filled versions of this haven't taken those guys to court.
Some have.
Copyright infringement.
Yep. Yeah, some can say that it's so similar that they're benefiting off of their. Yes, so that's happening. Claudie, a gummy bear. THC infused. 100 milligrams of THC per bear. Colorado law says 10 milligrams is a serving. So there's 10 servings in this gummy bear. And right down here is a dime, so you can see the size of the gummy bear. So basically, 1 foot is a serving.
Wow.
Just smaller than a dime would be a serving. Now you know why that boy ate a whole cookie. Right, Nancy? THC passes through the placenta and through the breast milk. Is associated with heart defects and even stillbirth, size of the brain. So there are birth defects with the use of THC. Except there's even stronger evidence that months or years after the birth, decreased growth, impaired cognitive function, decreased academic ability, increased depression symptoms. The other drug that does this is alcohol, called the fetal alcohol effects. And when it gets to the point of abstract thinking, that's when we see the fetal alcohol effects, that the child cannot move on from concrete, yes, no, to, let me think about that, abstract thinking. So we're seeing not the same thing, but something similar. It affects the child later as they grow. Because as they're developing, the THC is changing the way the brain is developing, even in utero. Poisons, when it was legalized in Washington, boom, the rate of poisonings went up 56%. Look at the gummy bears, the cookies, the brownies, sitting on the counter. And if those are THC infused, the little child comes up and says, cool, a brownie. And that's how they end up with poison symptoms. Poison control calls in Colorado, 227 for all ages, 49 for ages 0 to 8. Here's the risk of heart attack, fourfold, not fivefold, sorry about that, after the first hour after use. But here's what, 1 minute of secondhand smoke. For tobacco, it takes the arteries 30 minutes to recover. For marijuana, we're talking about 90 minutes to recover. For 1 minute of exposure to secondhand smoke. This is not a benign substance. This is not a natural, it's nature's, no, not anymore. Not when the THC levels jump up to 50 and 90%. The AAA Foundation traffic fatalities went up, doubled in Washington the year following legalization, doubled. So, and Gordon's here. If you want a personal story of what happened along these lines, he has a heartbreaker for you. But he didn't want to talk just yet. But if you want to talk to him afterwards, he's there to share his story. 1 in 5 deaths on the road in Colorado. THC was involved. It was in the driver's blood. Which means the THC was recent use. It wasn't 3 weeks ago. It was new within the last day. Michigan fatalities. From 2012 to 2016. Fatal car crashes throughout Michigan related to marijuana. Michigan State Police data. Total crashes in 2016 to 160 compared to 2012 at 76. These are marijuana related. Fatal crashes went from 70 to 138. Injuries, 5 to 15. Fatalities overall, 78 to 159. Injuries, 61 to 172. So fatalities, 159 fatalities, a jump from 78. Injuries started at 61 and went up to 172 in 4 years. Marijuana related. Sorry. AAA Foundation again. Drivers who tested positive in fatal crashes from 2013 to 2014 after it was legalized. Traffic deaths, we're right here where we're talking about medical marijuana. And as legalization approaches, people get excited, they start using a little more. And then after legalization, Colorado experienced a dramatic increase in traffic deaths related to marijuana. So, I bet you can think what Grandpa here is thinking about his little grandchild, right? Why would I risk this? Because as you said earlier, This is not about medical marijuana. This is not about helping somebody who's got cancer and dying. This is all legalization. This is all about high levels of THC in the community. Yes?
Why has it, or how has it gotten more potent?
The way that people grow it. You know, it's like you get a piece that has a certain high level, and then you nurture that plant, and you crossbreed with another piece that's higher, and you keep doing it that way. I forget what that technical term is, but yeah. All right, so here comes back to your question about, are we going to be supporting more people? The light gray here, they never used marijuana. The dark red, over 400 times they used. So incremental, 1 to 99, 100 to 199, 200 to 299, 300 to 399, over 400. The percent who gained a university degree, those who never used, much higher percent than those who are using it on a regular basis. Unemployed, ages 21 to 25, those who never used, those who used 200 or more times. Percent on welfare, 21 to 25, those who never used, those who used 200 or more times in their life. Businesses, we had the question earlier. Industrial accidents. If this is 100% of the industrial accidents, marijuana is 155% more than whatever the number is. It's 55% more. Disciplinary problems with workers, 55% more than the standard. Absenteeism from the standard, 78% more than the standard. Injuries, 85% more than the regular. Just the use of pot. And if you're a business owner, I can see you're just so excited right now. So, 78% more absenteeism, 85% workplace injuries, 64 disciplinary problems, 55% more industrial accidents. And businesses are at the point where they're saying, we can't get enough people to pass the drug test, so we're not going to drug test them anymore. They don't want to know. Yes?
School bus drivers.
Exactly, and you know, my school better be testing their school bus drivers. And when we have people with marijuana issues that come into treatment, they've been using regularly, sometimes it can be 30 days before they will say, they haven't used in 30 days, and they go, you know, I'm starting to think clearer now. So it's not that the THC, the high at the moment, because THC is fat soluble. When used, it goes and is stored in the fat cells. One of the fattiest parts of the body is the brain. The other fattiest part is the sexual reproductive area. But the brain has a high concentration of fat cells. So as the fat cells release energy, it's also releasing THC derivative into the brain as well. That's why it takes 30 days for them to start thinking clearer. Did I miss some stuff? Jump ahead. Okay. So some basic concerns: youth success and unemployment, income level, life satisfaction all go down for youth. Increase in crash fatalities, the use by youth, medical emergencies, we talked about those. Addiction rates go up, 1 in 16 who use will become addicted. It's I think 1 in 16 for adults. Again, the brain's more fully developed. Business liability risk and the financial cost to the community. Taxes. We're going to tax this, and so we'll have all sorts of this money to fix the roads and for schools. And the money comes in. Right? And in Colorado, it came in at 1% of the state budget. Right? Now, what did we have to do, because we had this industry, is we had to deal with fatal crashes, we had to deal with emergencies, psychotic episodes, poison centers, hospitalizations, law enforcement on the roads or protecting, as well as the administration of the program to make this function. With alcohol, with tobacco, for every dollar we collect in taxes, we spend $10 in social costs. Would not expect marijuana to be any different, except maybe more, because of some of these things. So this group, this department over here will get a lot of money, and then the rest of our tax dollars will be taxed or challenged even more, because they'll be picking up some of the fall on this. In Michigan, there are over 200 organizations that have come on opposing legalization. And these are just a couple, to give you an idea. The Michigan Chamber of Commerce says no. Michigan State Medical Society, over 15,000 doctors in the society, have said legalization is not a good idea. The Michigan Association of Preventive Medicine, not a good idea. Michigan Public Health Physicians, not a good idea. Michigan Sheriff's Association, not a good idea. The Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police, not a good idea. Michigan Builders and Contractors Association, not a good idea. The Michigan Catholic Conference, not a good idea. Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan, not a good idea. And Michigan Prevention Association. So, I'm going to leave it at that, and then I'll turn it over to our law enforcement buddies so they can give us the rest of the story.
Thank you very, very much. Our next speaker this evening is our very own Sheriff John O'Hagan. John joined the Manistee County Sheriff's Office in January of 1989 as a deputy sheriff. In his capacity as deputy, he has served as a DARE officer from 1994 until 2002. He was promoted to sergeant in July of 1999 for the Law Enforcement Services Division. In March of 2007, he accepted the position of undersheriff to retired Sheriff Dale Kolakowski. In November 2016, John campaigned successfully and was elected our Manistee County Sheriff. So without further ado, please help me welcome Sheriff John O'Hagan.
I did make some notes, and because this is such an important topic, I'm going to kind of glance down because I don't want to miss anything. Because this has been going on for quite some time, these last 6 months where we've been going to training and getting the ins and outs. And Jennifer said it perfect in the beginning. Recreational, medical, two separate. Let's not cross those over. But I think we're missing the point on a few things. We have a national epidemic going on right now of opioids. Everybody agrees. I mean, we're losing lives of our future generation. So now this marijuana gets talked about, and we know marijuana is a Schedule I drug, so there's 5 schedules. The Controlled Substance Act passed by Congress. So 1 is no medicinal purposes. You'll find your LSD there, your cocaines, okay? So just keep that in your mind. So FDA says this is a Schedule I drug, but yet, in 2008, we turned to the voters to let the voters decide whether this is going to be okay or not. Personally, my own opinion, I think we were duped in 2008. And I say that because they said it was going to be for people that were terminally ill, people with cancer. And for those people, God bless them. If that helps them, and I think we were very sympathetic to that. But over the years since that has passed, you would not believe the people that come into our office with medical marijuana cards. When we pull them over on the road or stop them, we actually, this is the truth, actually had one, they always use the word chronic, an ingrown toenail. Now I know we laugh about that. So this is very concerning, okay, because this again is a mind-altering drug. I was a DARE officer for 8 years. I taught 5th graders the definition of a drug, any substance other than food that can affect the way your mind and body work. Why has that changed? Where can we think of a substance that is medicine, which I'm not saying it can't help people because we have a medical marijuana law, but we can use it recreationally. So I just sit and I scratch my head on that. So we have all this going on and we're going to bring in more. And when you talk to kids, kids will say, it's easy to get marijuana, it's easier than alcohol. And you also hear people say, well, it's natural. It's a plant. But I think the word that you missed earlier was synthetic. Okay? Because this marijuana is laced with things, the THC levels have gone up. It's not that 60, 70 stuff where people smoked a joint. It's very, very concerning. And then there's people who say that, no, you don't get addicted to that. Some people may not. But other people, when you start to mention the gummy bears, the cookies, the things like that, it doesn't take much. We don't even know what levels are in there. So now we look at people that are going to be recreational, just taking a hit here and there. Boy, does that concern me. So people say it's a gateway drug. And there's mixed opinions on that. Okay? Alcohol, yeah, we can start that. All right, now smoking, yeah, now marijuana. Could that lead to more? It could. There's studies on both sides of it. Some people who use marijuana say, I've never tried anything more and I don't want to. So again, there's kind of mixed. But there's unintended consequences to this, and I know the Chief's going to talk about a few of those tonight, so I'm not going to take away. And I know this gentleman covered a lot of them, so I don't want to bore you, but I'm just going to hit a couple of quick ones. I think it's a great lie when they say it's not addictive and it's better than alcohol because it's natural. I just think that's just a lie. From 2016 through 17, OWI reduced and drug impairments, OUIDs, has doubled in Colorado. Doubled. Now, I don't know how much you know about our law enforcement in this community. I know I have 11 deputies, and we have our hands full. We're working around the clock. So to think of some of this stuff coming in, and we're already seeing the OUIDs with prescriptions. Now we're going to add another flavor. Law enforcement's in for a rude awakening, and I'm going to get into that in just a few minutes because we actually surveyed some police officers out in Colorado, and I'm going to share with them in a few minutes some of the things that they said. Okay? But what do we see? You see spikes in Poison Control Center. Again, the potency. It's not the 60, 70 stuff. You have the increase in crime. Denver had the stats for that. Impact on law enforcement, the strain. Again, how can we, if people start breaking the laws, because they're going to be allowed 10 ounces if this passes. What's to say they don't have 30 ounces, 40, 50 in their homes? How do we police that? They also say it's not allowed in public, but yet you can go to these dispensaries, watch people walk right out the door and light up. How do I, as law enforcement, enforce that? I don't have the people to do that. So again, very, very concerning. And no one even talked about the butane hash oil and things like that. All right, so we know that lighter fluid extracting the chemicals from this THC, all right, to get the best, that's what they're doing. And there's explosions. You've seen them on the news. Hotel blew up in Cadillac. I know it happened in Muskegon. It's getting closer to home. All this stuff that used to be far away is just getting closer and closer. So here we are, letting something else possibly come in. So just a couple, facts don't lie. Like he mentioned, ER room visits and hospital admissions up. And you can go to any one of those states. 9 of them right now with recreational marijuana. 41 of them said, Well, let's do the math. 80% say no. They're doing something right there. Those states are doing something right. Because if it's already medicine, why do we need it recreationally when we can't measure it? I pull somebody over on the side of the road, alcohol's pretty easy. We have a nice little tool. I don't have that for marijuana. And I'm sure down the line, some way, shape, or form that's going to come. Yes, we're trained in sobriety testing and what to look for. But again, very, very troubling. The advertising. Boy, they were brilliant when the marijuana folks put this together for kids. It was brilliant. You saw it. And they say this isn't for kids. This is for people 21 and over. Well, those people 21 over who use, do they have family? Do they have friends? Do they have kids? And why would I want to go to a dispensary and buy it and pay a tax when I can grow it myself and sell it to you, and you, and you, and you? Just a thought. I just think there's a lot of research that's lacking here. There was a letter to the editor yesterday in the paper. How many people saw that letter? Resident urges yes vote on Proposal 1. And I'm just going to point out 2 parts. Proposition 1 would protect landlords who don't want cannabis on their property. It'll protect employers with workplace drug policies. It'll keep cannabis away from schools. Now here's the best one. And provide for drug driving arrests for abusers.
He was probably using when he wrote.
So he goes on to say, if you factor out the black market where some dealers also offer harder drugs, cannabis itself poses no public safety threat. It is not in itself a gateway drug. It is not addictive, and it's not harmful to humans. Well, you heard what he said. You're hearing some of the things I'm saying. It's really not rocket science to put this together to try to figure out what's coming here. Again, marketed brilliantly, and I'm very concerned with our youth because they've already connected a lot of marijuana use with psychosis, with mental health. We have mental health issues in this state right now we can't handle, and across this country. So now we're going to let this come in. So, what do some of the police officers say? And again, I have a list, and I'm going to do just 3 or 4 quick ones. Here's one from a Colorado deputy, his 2 cents. He says, one just needs to sit in the parking lot of any pot shop. And although legally you can't light up in public, people walk out the door, they're lighting up, getting behind the wheel, and the rest is history. Another Colorado deputy. We were not prepared for the mass amount of people that would relocate here. Rent went through the ceiling. Washington State deputy, robberies at pot shops, DUI, which is the drug enforcement. The drugs are way up, suicides up, mental health issues up, workforce performance down, sick leave up. It will increase your law enforcement workload, and if your kids are heading to college, they should study to be social workers or shrinks, because the demand for their services is going to explode. Again, and I can go on and on. I have a list of them, but you kind of get where I'm going with it. I look at it like this. I think the dangers are pretty much just too great. And I've studied this. And I've looked at a lot of the different, there's been different studies. And so depending on who you talk to, well, how do you prove that and how do you know? There's a lot of it out there. You can research it. He has a list of them. I know I can get a list of everything I've said here today. But there's a moral compass that I think I have. This is a drug. It will negatively affect this community. If it's for medicine, then follow the rules that were designed to have medical marijuana. To just go out and smoke it and not know that 1 or 2 joints, what's in that? And these people are going to drive our cars, our buses, our semis. And again, I'm having trouble hiring corrections officers. And if I have to go through and drug test everybody, I'll tell you what, I do not like what I see. So again, I think we were fooled before, and I think they just want to find a way to sell this. Bottom line, I think it's all about the money. Where is all this money? Because some of the posts on Facebook, because I put this out there, there's a video called The Chronic State, where a sheriff made a comment out there, and his comment was, in Pueblo, Colorado, we are the drug capital of Colorado. I do not want to be your sheriff saying we're the drug capital of Manistee. That's the farthest thing from my mind. But it's coming. It's coming unless the voters get this word out. So the Sheriff's Association, and I can think of, you put 200 of them up there and you only listed a few that are against it. There's a good reason why they are. So keep that in mind, spread the word, talk to people, talk to other officials. I mean, there's a lot of research to be done online. Don't get me wrong, don't believe every single thing you hear or say. Because some things may not be true, they could be skewed. But when I put that up on our Facebook page, they kept saying it's all about the money. The sheriff wants to get all the money. What money? I just don't know what they're talking about. Because there is none that come for law enforcement. Now, there's promises made. There are promises, like the schools and the road. In Colorado, the one deputy said, yep, in the fine print of the schools, it has to be a new school built. It's not about... Yeah, that was said. It's not about, just for teachers and for salaries and for things where you're going to try to boost that up. I see you got a question back there.
Well, comment on the proposal, reading it. The bulk of that tax money is actually going to places, municipalities, townships, and whatnot that have a dispensary or some type of marijuana business in it.
Okay.
Any township who decides not to have that isn't going to get nearly the kind of money that they're thinking they're going to get.
Okay. Great point. So I'm just, and I wanted to mention it, and I know Jennifer said something before. I don't know how many people know this, but we have a medical marijuana facility coming to Stratton Township. How many are aware of that? Okay, 5 or 6? All right, they went through, they had their public hearings, they got their special use permit. Now the last I heard, they sent it down to the state just to get the final A-OK on it. But that's coming, they think that'll be up and open here a year from now. So again, they're more about, this is the CBD, this is the oils, they're gonna extract the oils. And Sheriff, you're not gonna have any issues. We got the best camera, we got the best equipment, we're gonna bring 15 to 20 jobs. Okay, and I think they were waiting for me to say, all right, that's good, and I wouldn't do that. I did say you're following the law. The law says you can do this, you jumped the proper hoops, you brought a nice diagram, you brought your people, I understand it. I get it. My heart of hearts, do I like it? No. Because how many calls are we going to get out there? I don't know. Are people going to try to break it before it gets made to an oil? I don't know. But they did promise me out in one of their metropolitan cities, they've had it for a year and a half, they haven't had one police call. I haven't seen the statistics on that, so I don't know. But again, all I encourage people is, please do your homework. Think about this. It's a lot more than just grass or just weed. It's not going to hurt anybody. We've seen it. And yeah, maybe no one died directly from it. Because I know some of the people who are supporting it say, well, there's been no deaths. Maybe not. But do we wait till there is? There's enough other information out there to put the scare in us anyway.
Why haven't we seen any ads on TV about how bad this would be if...
So a month ago, we went to the Sheriff's Association and said, what are we doing? Why are we getting this word out? I mean, the months are going by. I brought it to my board chair. I said, we got to do something. I contacted the newspaper a couple weeks ago. We're going to try to set something up for Chief Golzo and myself to do even a question answer. We don't ever want it to be just one-sided. I want you to hear what some of the other people say, but some of the things they're saying isn't necessarily true. It's skewed a little bit. And again, to try to make people vote for it. But let's just remember this one thing, and I'll end on this. It is a drug. It can affect your mind and your body and how you function. And if you're naive enough to think that kids won't get into this, you're wrong. And the fact that it's already out there doesn't mean, well, let's just, quit enforcing the laws and then you wouldn't have so many people in jail. How about we quit breaking the laws that we have and we wouldn't have people in jail? Just a thought. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you very, very much, Sheriff. As always, an excellent presentation. It is my pleasure now to introduce our Manistee Public Safety Director, Chief Tim Kozel. He is Public Safety Director for the City of Manistee. He began working for the City of Manistee in April of 2017. Chief retired from the Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety after 23 and a half years. He is a certified police officer, firefighter, and medical first responder. Please help me welcome Chief Kozel.
Good evening. A lot of stuff to sit on. I take a lot of notes because I like to learn as I'm listening. Is John? Yep. I don't remember your last name forever now. A lot of things that he talked about, I like to piggyback on. A lot of things that the sheriff talked about that I like to piggyback on because there's been a lot of data that's been thrown at you today. And everybody should go to the ballot, go there and make a good conscious decision, right, on everything that you vote for, okay? Think about this. I'm going to talk a lot about unintended consequences of the use of recreational marijuana, okay? You talked briefly about secondhand smoke, THC. Think about it. Marijuana cigarette, a joint, about 0.5 gram in weight, okay? Remember you talked about the potency of the brown weed. Brown weed is what I call is marijuana that's smuggled up from Mexico in brick form. Okay, you see it on TV wrapped in cellophane. We now have what I like to say is a green weed. We work hard at it, the growers, we splice. I work with the other growers, we keep splicing it, we keep getting it better. I spent 7.5 years in a drug unit down in Kalamazoo. One of my niches was marijuana. I started teaching for the DEA around the Midwest, going around and teaching other officers how to investigate marijuana grows, and I hit a lot upon THC usage, you know, standing on your soapbox about it. Back to that joint, okay? Think about that 25% THC that's in that marijuana cigarette. I'm sitting at home, I can legally use it. I have 3 children sitting in that room with me. Is there unintended consequences of me sitting there smoking? 5% of the THC of that marijuana cigarette goes up in the air and is now consumed by everybody else in that room. Think of you sitting in there. John had mentioned, how long is that going to be within your system? To be honest, I was in a room and somebody else was smoking. I didn't use myself, but I dropped dirty, right, when I went to get tested for my job. How many people that are employers will believe that? Okay? 5% of that THC is going to float up in the air. We used to joke around about it back in the early 90s, about just getting the spider side of the room. 5% THC. Our marijuana is getting more and more potent. My youngest daughter is 20. I remember getting a call from her back when she was still in high school. Dad, kids are eating edibles in class. Really? She's 20 now. Yeah, and there's kids that are actually selling them for $20 a pop. Chocolate. Looks like this normal candy wrapped up. I said, oh, what are the teachers doing? They don't know. And the kids are laughing at the teachers. Hey, how you doing, Dean of Students? My name's Tim Kozel. Just want to let you know that I have a little bit of experience, you know, I'm a law enforcement officer, blah, blah, blah. I haven't met you yet. Number 1, I don't want you pulling my daughter out of the classroom. Number 2, you have kids in school eating edibles. What was his response? What's an edible?
Oh, man.
That was just, 4 years ago. Education. Do you think there's still kids today in our high schools sitting there eating edibles in front of our administration?
Sure.
It's happening. Think about it this way. Your son, your daughter, goes to a house and spends some time with their friends. How are they ever going to know what their digestive is going to be? Something that might be laced. Okay? I used to preach a lot about to my daughters, I have a 23-year-old and a 20-year-old, about never taking a drink from anybody. Right? You never know what's going to be in that. Even a bottle of water. Now it's even scarier because you don't know what you're going to consume. Okay? Let's talk about, I think we hit a little bit upon armed robbery of these locations. Back in the early 90s when I was in the drug unit, one of the cases that I investigated was somebody that robbed a guy that was growing marijuana. Isn't it odd? That guy went away for 10 years for robbing somebody that was growing marijuana. And it wasn't legal, recreational or medicinally back then. 10 years he went for stealing. If you saw the news downstate, I learned that word, by the way, since I've come up here for 18 months. I've never heard that before in my life. Downstate. That's where I was from, Kalamazoo area. Back in Kalamazoo, within the last 2 weeks, someone killed somebody because he was in his marijuana that he was growing legally. Because you can grow 12 plants if you have a card. This guy was in there trying to steal it. Killed him. He's being tried for murder. Okay. The sheriff mentioned, how do we know that facilities that are legally going to be around our area, you never know in Manistee what's going to happen. We've, have an ordinance in place that will allow it. We don't have anything, as quick as maybe Stronach, but it's going to come for medicinal purposes. Who's to say when that marijuana, that CBD oil, or the byproduct of it is now being taken away from that facility that they're not going to be robbed? We're going to get those calls. We're going to get those takeovers. The money. Can you imagine the money involved with that? Okay? The sheriff mentioned 10 ounces. That's what the ballot initiative talks for. Right, John? 10 ounces. Remember I mentioned a marijuana joint? How much was the weight of a marijuana joint? Half a gram? Start doing some math in our heads. So how many joints are going to be within 1 ounce? Just shy of 60 times 10? Think about it. Those are the things that I would be something that John would be asking me about, prosecutor. He would be asking me about when I want to testify about delivery amounts of marijuana. But now I can possess that. Right? people drove around, well, you know, I can save money by buying that much, or possessing that much, right? Well, I don't go out and buy a keg of beer when I want to have a cool one, do I? And now put it into a couple hundred glasses and save it, right? There's some things in my head, I guess. I get a little bit off the tangent. 10 ounces, that's a lot of marijuana to possess. Plus, I think it's small plants too on top of it. That's a lot for possession alone. My wife commented to me, I don't want to go down to the First Street Beach and have someone sit next to me smoking a joint legally. I don't want to have to smell it ever. Think about it. Yes, as we talked about here, you can't walk down the street supposedly and smoke it. And people, there's a lot of places people can't even smoke cigarettes, right? Do you remember the advertisements? Let's talk unintended consequences again. Do you remember the advertisements when they were talking about cigarettes, secondhand smoke, carcinogens, and you had the person in their cubicle smoking a cigarette, and the smoke went over the cubicle, and the person next to him is inhaling it, and suddenly they're a skeleton. I don't know if you remember these commercials when they were really pushing secondhand smoke, how dangerous it is. Look how that is moved across the country where in public areas, you can't have, no more cigarettes, bars, restaurants. You all with me? Mm-hmm. Marijuana is 500 times more carcinogenous than cigarettes. Do I need to say anything more than that?
So how come?
90 more terpenes in marijuana.
So how come you never, I wondered about that. It's like, but the marijuana people go, but it's okay. Why is that?
I wish I had the magical answer on that. I just want to be able to throw out things that I've learned, throughout my career about marijuana. The stats that you hear about the teen drug use and lower. It's there. If alcohol is available in a house because the parents use alcohol, do you think there's more availability and the possibility of the people living in the house, the younger people, of using it? Do you think that if the parents smoke cigarettes, that there'd be more availability and possibility of those children smoking cigarettes? If parents have the legal right to possess marijuana, do you think that the availability and the possibility of those young people to utilize that, to take some of that, will be high? Will be a greater amount? Yes. Look at our opioid issue because of the pills that are in every household. This is very interesting. If I have a driver's license, right? You have a driver's license, sir, correct? You get too many tickets, what happens to your driver's license? You lose it, right? What happens to your medical marijuana card if you violate the terms and conditions of your medical marijuana card? Do you get it taken away?
No.
Shake my head like this with me. Is there any repercussions on that?
Probably
You
not.
can't have a CCW and you violate that CCW to carry a handgun. Do you get that card taken away from you?
You betcha.
The medical marijuana card? Why? It's medical. There's nothing built in. There's no repercussions on that. Okay? I can't say it enough, that we've hit about a lot today, all three of us, that you just want to make a good, conscious decision about this ballot initiative. Read it. I didn't know until I actually read it myself about the 10 ounces and 12 plants. There's other things built in there too, okay? And like John was saying, it's going to take a supermajority for our legislation, if it is passed, to make any effect on that afterwards. Supermajority. And you can't see that happening too often to change something, okay? This Friday, when I'm having my first teleconference, I'm a member of the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police, and I'm part of that subcommittee to try to get something out there, just like the sheriff was saying, with the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police about this ballot initiative. So we're going to be trying to get something out there. I know a lot of people are bringing it up. Why haven't we seen anything? Why haven't we seen anything? We're trying on our end. Hopefully there'll be more that'll be out there. That's the biggest thing, is just getting the right information. This is all information that's been given to us from out west. We're not making it up. Everything that John said, he said right at the beginning of the slide presentation, all this is from boom, 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 boom. It's all credible, factual information. I'm not just up here telling you marijuana's bad. I'm not doing it. I'm giving you facts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate you coming. We all do. Very helpful information. As we wrap up here, I want to thank everybody who spent some time with us this evening on a rather balmy fall night. I also want to note that we have two of our county commissioners here, and our assistant prosecutor is also here with us as well. So thank you all for coming. I think that shows tremendous care and concern about our community, that our elected officials are coming to town halls. So thank you very much for that. I would also like to thank Pastor Jamie Parlett for allowing us once again to use this facility and for coming in line with the true understanding of town halls and where they should be, and using the church as a way to educate the community. So thank you very much for that. Again, we have information in the back on all of the ballot proposals, as well as what is commonly referred to as a slate card. So if you are a conservative and you care about our community, and you will be going to the polls in November, I know that about this crowd already. In the back of this little booklet is a slate card that you can tear off and take to the polls with you so that you can cast an educated and conservative ballot. Do you have a question?
We have somebody from the prosecutor's office. I'd like to hear what he has to say. Oh, I don't know. Drunk driving. What are we here for? Oh.
I would hesitate to put Mr. Hauser on the spot. If you would like to make a few additional comments, you're more than welcome to.
Other than endorse what Chief Postal and Sheriff Hagan have already stated, I mean, we've been fighting this fight for years in Manistee County already with drugs, particularly opioids and marijuana recently, so I completely concur with everything they said. That's about all I've got on it, man. I have read and analyzed the bill, though, if anybody wants to talk to me about the finer points of it.
Excellent. If we could please give a round of applause for all of our presenters this evening.
10 ounces was said. 10 ounces at home, 600 to 880 joints. But you can have 2.5 ounces on the street. In other words, I can have the equivalent of 150, 200 joints in the glove box of my car, driving around.
It's like a carton of cigarettes.
And excuse me, 200 joints is not personal use levels,
No,
right?
no.
So, I just wanted to bring, yes, I understand.
2.5 ounces?
You can give 2.5 ounces of marijuana to anybody over 21, so to speak, but you can't charge them for it. So I can get my 2.5 ounces and I can go give it to John and say, here, oh, by the way, remember that $1,000 you owe me? You know, and play it that way instead. But
And if everybody can have that amount of kids, who do you think is going to be gifted to?
yeah, yeah. And it's like, yeah.
So you
Right.
can,
It's going to get easy. He said if everyone can have 2.5 ounces in their glove box,
Only one's a can of kids.
the kids are going to get it. Right? The other thing that's interesting for me, when I look at this, other than the opt-out, which is going to be very difficult for anybody to do, these are the fines that are a joke. Marijuana can be sold for use on premise.
oh, so you can have marijuana clubs.
So, yep, you can have marijuana clubs, a marijuana bar, that type of thing. It says in the proposal, yes,
I did hear, somebody said that lives in Colorado, if they have marijuana, they have a green leaf lit up. And that tells the people, like, I guess, beer or whatever, then that's
yep.
whatever that is.
So bars can sell it?
So you
Well-
can't smoke cigarettes in a bar, but you can smoke marijuana.
It states very clearly in the proposal that you cannot distribute tobacco in the same place that you distribute marijuana.
Oh, that's what
Whoa,
However, alcohol on premises is not mentioned in the proposal. So yes, if I'm a bar owner,
Oh, my
I'm
God.
serving alcohol, I could apply to be a licensed distributor and have, if not in the same building next door to it, you know, that type of thing. And the problem with that is that when you mix marijuana with alcohol, you get 5 times the expected effect out of it.
What groups are in favor of this? I mean, the medical,
Oh, that's
the
the other one.
Marijuana Growers Association?
Probably.
It's Wall Street. It's the tobacco companies. It's the alcohol companies. This is not going to be Mr. Smith down the street who's going to have this big grow operation. He might get 12 plants, but the big grow operations are coming from Wall Street. People are looking at this as an
Yeah.
investment.
Mhm.
And they are looking at bringing big money in. And so, remember how tobacco, big tobacco, we don't market to kids. Camel doesn't attract kids. You get the same type of dynamic. It's happened in Colorado. Colorado, in fact, they said, we need to pass laws to protect children. And the marijuana industry fought even those laws. Yes, sir?
So if this were to be approved, are there going to be tax stamps on this marijuana that I'm allowed to carry? So if I'm carrying my 2.5, do I have to show a tax stamp? Or
That's
do
not
I
mentioned
just
in the
claim that
proposal.
it's my 12 plants that I processed, or?
It's certain on that.
Tax
The
stamps are
fact
not
that you can grow your own marijuana in your home, you're not able to tax that anyway, so I don't think that requirement like that could possibly pass.
No, there's permits, and Chief Guzil probably knows more about this than I do, but you, like the plant down in Stronach, they have to pay X amount of dollars for X amount of plants. And so then that goes to local units. And that's how you get the buy-in from the local units. You gotta have some way to offset some of the cost of this, and that's basically all it is, because I agree with everything that was said tonight. For every dollar you receive, you spend $10 between the judicial and law enforcement and social impacts from all of it.
One of the promises we have is the black market will go away.
Oh, yeah, right, uh-huh.
The black market actually comes on stronger because now they can operate in
I can
plain
see a
sight.
follow-on with big Wall Street money. There will be incentive to eliminate the black market.
Yep.
That's the
Cartels?
reason they're in.
Yep. Colorado has a bunch of cartels now.
It's just like legalizing alcohol. You know, it's a cash cow for the government.
Well, except for this department in the government maybe, but the rest of the departments are picking up the slack, the 10-to-1 issue.
It's not a cash cow for them.
Right.
There's a couple of points that have been raised about federal law conflicting with this. The money that comes from these things, and whether or not that money can be deposited in any institution that's federally insured. My understanding is that that's not going to happen. The second part of federal law that conflicts with this is anybody who is a shooter or a hunter and owns guns or goes and buys guns on occasion, every time you have to fill out a Form 1044 to a federal firearms license dealer, it asks you, do you use drugs or are you a drug addict? And even in parentheses now in the new form it says, if you are a medical marijuana patient, you must answer yes to this question. And you're no longer authorized under federal law to own or possess a firearm. And so that's going to cause a real conflict with a lot of sportsmen and shooters and such who think that this is going to be a good idea. Now you're going to be breaking federal law, either by possessing that firearm or lying on the form in order to obtain it or have a permit.
Is part of the background check going to be that they're checking to see that?
I don't know the answer to that. I wish I did.
Yes.
I was talking to someone over the weekend who runs a drug testing facility, and he said there are certain jobs that are regulated by the feds, like interstate truck driving, piloting, anything that's regulated by the feds, they're required to test for marijuana and other drugs. And maybe not so much, he didn't know about the ones that are regulated by the state, but, it's gonna impact.
So local trucking companies that have a federal contract, they are gonna have to be very selective as who they've got working on that federal contract. Because they will get drug tested, and if they come up, they risk their contract.
Any interstate truck, and I'm in transportation, and I have drivers, and we randomly have to drug test them. Just, it's a requirement by the federal government that says this. And that can, I've had guys that get tested 4 times a year, and they're saying, it might be, but it's just a big consortium, and their name gets drawn out. When their name gets drawn out, they have to know it. You got 10 days to get in there and get it done.
Yep.
Without being, I cannot inform that driver only 24 hours prior to when he's going to be going in.
So we can make plans to get there.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
We have time for one more question, folks. We were hoping to wrap up by 8:30, and we're a little past that time. Are there any last questions? Okay, thank you very, very much for coming.
Okay, this is Mike Tillison at Bear Lake, at the Bear Lake Baptist Church. I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Until next time, this is Mike Tillison. Pray for the troops to always win, never give up.